South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem recently called for the crackdown on Chinese farmland purchases, perhaps one of the greatest national security threats we're facing. And now, and I'm quoting, a foreign agriculture investment bill has reached the South Dakota legislature, an act that restricts foreign persons, entities, and governments from acquiring farmland exceeding 160 acres. Joining me now is South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. I am so happy you're doing this. You were on with us maybe 6 months or so ago, and there was this growing concern that the Chinese, the Communist Chinese Party, was partnering with entities to buy up farmland in your state and other states. So where's the bill stand? Are you going to get a signature on these?
Yes, absolutely. So I have brought forward legislation with a couple of partners in our legislature that would ban the purchases of ag land in South Dakota by enemies that hate us. So it includes China, and China has been a growing threat to the United States of America. I've been working on food policy, national security issues for over 20 years. We've seen China continue to buy up our fertilizer companies, our chemical companies, our processing systems. Now they're aggressively purchasing land in the United States of America. So we've seen, since 2010 to 2020, them have a 5,000% increase in purchases of land in the United States of America. And that's why we want to make sure that we're protecting South Dakota, but we should be protecting the entire country from our enemies being our neighbors, from owning our greatest asset, which is our land that we'll pass on to our children. You know,
likely our most strategic asset of all, you could argue that oil could be one of them, but certainly our food supply, a huge concern. We're blessed by, two borders and some amazing climate allows us to, be self-sufficient for food as long as the other foreigners don't come in and buy it. And the reason why I say that, Governor, is because over the last couple of years during COVID, they bought Smithfield Foods, the largest pork producer in the world. And they weren't using that plant to process pork for the United States. They were sending a vast majority of it back to China.
It is interesting to watch what China has done here in the United States. We've known for generations that they seek to destroy us as a country. We also have seen them manipulate their currency, steal our IP. We've seen them build up their military. I've worked on farm programs for many, many years. I am a farmer and a rancher, but we saw them buy up our food processing facilities, and their goal is to control our food supply. And when another country controls our food supply, that's truly when they'll control the United States of America, and we are no longer can protect our people. So, with the purchase of Smithfield, with the purchase of other companies in the United States, we've seen the growing threat. Now they're purchasing up our land. That's not going to happen here in South Dakota while I'm governor. We are the home of Ellsworth Air Force Base, which is going to be the home of the next generation bomber, the B-21. And I want to make sure that we don't allow them to secure assets and land near that base to where they could conduct surveillance on our Air Force, on our military. That's a real threat that we have. We saw some interest in China up in North Dakota pursue that and purchase up assets that are close to their Air Force base. We're not going to let that happen here.
If I may, I don't mean to cut you off. That was Fufang, a Fufang company, which also, by the way, folks, any company, the Communist Chinese Party is a partner in any company doing business. So Fufang comes and buys a piece of farmland like 18 miles away from that military base, the drone base, no less, 18 miles away, easily surveilled from that location. You're saying you're not going to let it happen in South Dakota.
Well, it's interesting, Eric, because in that area up there in North Dakota, they said they were going to build a corn processing plant on those acres. There isn't enough corn in that area to support that type of a processing facility. So we know that there was other intentions, that were being planned for those acres. We know that China doesn't tell the truth and that they're not going to inform us on what all their plans are with our land here in the United States. And that's why I'm going to make sure I'm protecting Ellsworth Air Force Base, that I'm not going to allow China or other enemies that hate us to buy our land. They're not going to be neighbors to our farmers and ranchers here in South Dakota, and I'm hoping this legislation will be supported and passed.
It's fantastic. It's great for the state of South Dakota. It may even be a great policy for the United States. Now, hold that thought for 1 second. Today, we learned that former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, said that around February 15th, she's going to announce a run for February 15th, if I didn't say that right, for president. Now, for the GOP nomination. As soon as that happened, the speculation bubble opened up, and we called you, and I said, can we get Governor Noem on? Because, I mean, you know, your thoughts? 2024? You thinking about it?
Well, I think there's a lot of different people that are out there being talked about running for president. I haven't seen an announcement come from Nikki Haley. I know that earlier this year or at the end of last year, they were talking about Mike Pence running for president, and we haven't seen an announcement out of him yet either. So we got a lot of things to do. I've got a lot of things to accomplish here in South Dakota, and I'm focused on that.
And the things you're doing in South Dakota make sense for the whole country is the reason why I brought that up. Some of the names that have been floated that may run if Donald Trump doesn't tell everyone not to run and no one does. Governor DeSantis, three governors, Governor Noem, Governor DeSantis, and Governor Youngkin. Those names are being floated. Governor Abbott as well, Tim Scott as well. But, you know, there seems to be a little bit of sniping, at least from the Trump camp, towards DeSantis. So far, you've stayed out of the fray. Is there a timetable?
Are you asking me to get in the middle of that?
No,
fray?
I'm asking you if there's a time frame.
I don't think I'm going to do that, Eric. What I will tell you is that I think it's been remarkable how South Dakota has been a beacon of hope for this country. You know, we are a place that is thriving. We're growing fast. People are moving here because they know that we'll defend the Constitution, that we respect law enforcement. Our incomes are going up here faster than anywhere else. You know, this really, my job as governor is to protect the people who live here in South Dakota and make sure that they have a chance at the American dream, and that's what I get up every day focused on.
Okay, so one final thought, and something we'd like you to weigh in on. I don't know where you are, and a lot of senators are. There's a letter written today from Mike Lee and Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and a couple others about this whole situation, what's going on with Newsmax. Newsmax has been deplatformed by DirecTV. at&t is a majority owner of DirecTV. You know, it's a free speech argument, I guess it is, but it's also if the American people are paying our taxes, and one of the partnerships that at&t has, it's with NASA, the space agency. That's conservative dollars as well as liberal dollars. What are your thoughts on this whole dust up with Newsmax and at&t?
Well, I think that Newsmax should be available on DirecTV, and at&t should facilitate that. I've long asked my cable companies to offer Newsmax. I think getting the truth and truth from the media is incredibly important. You have filled that role, and that we need to have your perspective out there in the American people's homes and on their devices so that they can learn a balanced argument and some civil discourse on a lot of the policies that are affecting them every day. So I appreciate the senators drawing attention to this, because it's incredibly important that you have the chance to go out there and to compete in this marketplace that is supposed to be all about free speech and about an informed public. It's not going to happen as long as they keep banning different platforms and companies because they don't agree with them.
Well, Governor, we really appreciate your time. We love what you're doing in South Dakota. I think, on a personal level, I think you'd be a fantastic national candidate, and I hope you consider it. And I hope you consider talking to us about it when and if you, in fact, do announce, or whatever your decision is. Appreciate your time, Governor.
Thanks, Eric. You have a great day.
You too.